This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next broadcast. This is All India Radio. You will now listen to the recording of today's proceedings during the question hour in Lok Sabha. ये आकाशवाणी है। अभी आप आज लोकसभा में प्रश्नकाल के दौरान हुए कार्यवाही की रिकॉर्डिंग सुनेंगे।
माननीय सभासदों, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी।
121 Sri Dhal Singh Bisen.
Question number 121 by Dr. Dhal Singh Bisen. Will the Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises be pleased to state A. The number of micro, small and medium enterprises MSMEs functioning at present in Madhya Pradesh. B. The number of such enterprises set up in Madhya Pradesh during the last 3 years under various schemes district-wise. C. The number of enterprises set up in Sioni and Balaghat districts under Balaghat Parliamentary Constituency in Madhya Pradesh after the introduction of Mudra scheme. D. The details of loan disbursed to the said enterprises under the Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana PMABRY. And E. The details of loan disbursed to the said enterprises in Balaghat and Sioni districts in Madhya Pradesh under the PMABRY scheme. Shri Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma, Minister of State for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
उत्तर सभापटल से रख दिया गया है।
माननीय सदस्य,
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं
आफ्टर क्वेश्चन आवर, नो डिस्टर्बेंस, क्वेश्चन में नो अलाउ।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, पहले तो मैं
माननीय
मंत्री जी को पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि जो मंत्री जी ने उत्तर दिया है मेरे एमएसएमई के अंतर्गत, तो इन्होंने जो स्वीकृत ऋण की राशि दिखाई है सिवनी और बालाघाट के लिए 1154 करोड़ और देना केवल 28 लाख और 30 लाख, तो थोड़ा इसको स्पष्ट करेंगे कि ये वस्तु स्थिति है क्या?
ओके, माननीय मंत्री जी।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, हमने जो पीएमईजीपी योजना के अंतर्गत जो बालाघाट और सिवनी को जो दिया है 3 साल में 19, 20, 21 में, विशेष रूप से
नो डिस्टर्बेंस
जी, फर्स्ट में 2175
उस सदन की बात इस सदन में नहीं की जाती। माननीय मंत्री जवाब देते रहे।
940 सर, ये मध्य प्रदेश में पीएमईजीपी के तहत स्थापित की गई हैं जिलेवार इकाइयां जो दिलपत की हैं, जो इन्होंने दिया वो सभा पटल पर रख दिया गया था।
माननीय मेंबर
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं यहाँ जो उन्होंने संवितरित जो राशि की है वो अत्यंत अल्प है। अध्यक्ष महोदय, क्या है कि उद्योग लगभग 62,000 पूरे प्रदेश में लगे और उसका जो परसेंटेज है यदि देखेंगे तो केवल 6% लगे। मैं पर्टिकुलर अपने जिले की बात कर रहा हूँ तो केवल 3% और बालाघाट जिले में केवल 8% उद्योग लगे हैं। तो अब इनमें इन्होंने कितनी राशि स्वीकृत की और कितना अनुदान दिया, अब यही पर्टिकुलर केवल मेरे क्षेत्र का ही बता दें, पूरे प्रदेश का ना बता के।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, विशेष रूप से जो हमारा बालाघाट और सिवनी क्षेत्र के लिए इन्होंने जो बताया है, जो हमारा पीएमईजीपी के अंतर्गत जो यूनिटें लगी हुई हैं उसके अंतर्गत 3 साल में, पहले तो बालाघाट में 2019-20 में 82 यूनिटें लगी हैं, 20-21 में 209 लगी हैं और 21-22 में 151 लगी हैं। इसके बाद इसी हिसाब से सिवनी में 26 लगी हैं और इसके बाद 2021 में 58 लगी हैं और इसके बाद 2021-22 में 40 लगी हैं। इस हिसाब से ये यूनिटें लगी हुई हैं और विशेष रूप से इन पर जो धन स्वीकृत किया गया है, माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, जो जितने भी धन स्वीकृत किया गया है।
चलो माननीय मंत्री जी, हो गया जवाब। अब कागजी समेटते रहते हो बहुत देर तक। सेकेंड क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया उन्होंने। लाओ श्री कृष्णा।
सर, थैंक यू सर। There are reports that MSMEs are owed almost to the tune of 5 lakh crores. These are the numbers that was swirling around for the last 2 years, and it has been mentioned by none other than Nitin Gadkari ji. So, in the last 2 years, how much of these 5 lakh crores has been cleared to these MSMEs by PSUs or government agencies which owe this amount to them? So, if the minister can answer that, thank you.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
माननीय अध्यक्ष,
पिछले 2 साल में अध्यक्ष महोदय, पिछले 2 साल में 2,80,000 करोड़ रुपए अब तक खर्च किए गए।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 122 प्रज्वल रेवन्ना.
Question number 122 by Shri Prajwal Revanna. Will the Minister of Jal Shakti be pleased to state A. Whether the investment committee of the ministry had cleared rupees 16,125 crores for Upper Bhadra project in the state of Karnataka. B. If so, the details thereof and the time by which the project is likely to be completed. C. Whether it is true that Upper Bhadra project is likely to irrigate approximately 2.25 lakh hectares in drought-prone districts of central Karnataka, such as Davangere, Chikmagaluru, Tumakuru, and Chitradurga districts, and if so, the details thereof. And D. Whether the state governments of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have raised several objections to undertake the project in the state of Karnataka, and if so, the details thereof and the reasons therefore. Shri Prahlad Singh Patel, Minister of State for Jal Shakti.
माननीय मंत्री महोदय,
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, उत्तर सभा पटल पर रख दिया गया.
माननीय सदस्य.
sir, thank you, Chairman, sir, for giving me an opportunity to talk.
Speaker.
And Speaker, and firstly, I want to congratulate the Minister for giving an approval for the UBP project, which is Upper Bhadra project. And I want to ask you the question is, what is the latest estimated cost of the UBP project and up-to-date expenditure? What is the balance cost, sir?
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, अभी जो वर्तमान की स्थिति अपर भद्रा की है, उसके मुताबिक जो डिटेल कार्य प्रगति के बारे में माननीय सदस्य ने पूछा है, इसके पूरे जो तुंगा से भद्रा के बीच में पानी पहुंचाने की प्रक्रिया थी, वो पूरी हुई है. आगे जाकर जो टनल कंप्लीट होना था, वो काम भी पूरा हुआ है और नहरों के काम में भी काफी अच्छी प्रगति है.
Honorable members supplementary.
They didn't get the answer.
Sir, we didn't get the answer, sir, about the first question.
Second, you can ask you.
Okay. Second question, national, sir, I want to ask you the second question, sir. National project guidelines provides for funding pattern is 90:10, sir, which is center and state. And I want to know whether Government of India would be providing the central funds for the balance cost or the total cost of the whole project, sir.
पहले भी अध्यक्ष जी, जब मैंने उनको कहा था तो मैंने तथ्यात्मक बात ही कही है, लेकिन जो दूसरी बात उन्होंने पूछी है कि राष्ट्रीय परियोजना के मामले में जो हाई पावर कमेटी है, उसने अपनी बैठक की थी और जहां तक सवाल 90 और 10 का है, कर्नाटक में राष्ट्रीय परियोजना अभी वो घोषित नहीं हुई है. अगर घोषित होती है तो उसका रेशो 60-40 ही होगा. और राष्ट्रीय परियोजना का जो प्रस्ताव है वो जून 2021 में प्राप्त हुआ था और इसकी अगली बैठक अभी प्रस्तावित है, संभवतः इसी महीने के अंत तक होनी चाहिए.
श्री प्रताप राव जाधव. क्वेश्चन नंबर 123 श्री सुमेधानंद सरस्वती जी.
Question number 123 by Shri Sumedanand Saraswati, Shri Balaknath. Will the Minister of New and Renewable Energy be pleased to state A. Whether the government proposes to provide electricity in each household of every village of the country through solar energy scheme. B. If so, the details thereof state-wise including Rajasthan. C. Whether any norms have been framed under the scheme to provide solar energy in the fields. D. If so, the details thereof. E. The names of companies through which the said scheme is being implemented under Jaipur and Ajmer discoms in the state of Rajasthan. F. Whether any complaints have been received against these companies. And G. If so, the details thereof. Shri R.K. Singh, Minister of New and Renewable Energy.
माननीय मंत्री जी.
Sir, the answer is laid on the table of the House.
क्वेश्चन नंबर 124 डॉक्टर सुजय विखे पाटिल.
Question number 124 by Dr. Sujay Radhakrishna Vikhe Patil, Shri Unmesh Bhaiya Sahib Patil. Will the Minister of New and Renewable Energy be pleased to state A. the quantum of electricity generated from garbage waste materials in the country till date. B. The financial assistance provided by the Union Government during each of the last 3 years, state UT-wise. C. The steps being taken by the government to encourage initiatives such as tie-ups with solid waste management companies, municipal corporations, and Institute of Technology to promote waste-to-energy programs. D. Whether the government has encouraged various public sector undertakings, PSUs, to install waste-to-wealth power plants during the said period. E. If so, the details thereof PSU-wise. F. Whether setting up of new and renewable energy projects is included in their corporate social responsibility CSR portfolio, or is it entirely for lowering their costs and get a reliable power supply? And G. If so, the details thereof. Shri R.K. Singh, Minister of New and Renewable Energy.
Laid on the table of the House.
Mani member.
Thank you, Speaker, sir. Sir, biogas is one of the prominent methods of converting waste to energy. The ministry was providing central financial assistance for setting up of compressed biogas plants. However, the government has withdrawn all kinds of subsidy to biogas plants, which will impact almost 15 million farmers looking for energy security and natural farming. So I would like to know from the Honorable Minister through you, sir, what were the reasons behind stopping this assistance? And is there any plan to consider the continuation of central financial assistance beyond March 21 under Waste to Energy program for new projects?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the scheme has been extended, but it's only for meeting the liabilities which have already been incurred. We have gone back to the Ministry of Finance and asked them to reconsider this because we feel that this scheme, the biogas part of it, is something which needs to be continued. Actually, the problem was that this was an amalgam of schemes. You had waste to energy in this, you had municipal solid waste in this, you had industrial waste in this, and you had biogas in this. Now, the Ministry of Urban Development has come out with their Swachh Bharat mission, under which they give assistance for waste to energy programs and municipal solid waste programs. So the the government felt that here there was a duplication with two ministries giving assistance to the same program, and therefore this decision was taken. But we have gone back to the government saying that as far as biogas is concerned, this needs to be continued.
Mani Sadasya.
Sir, biogas plants can be installed only where waste generation is abundant. It is a challenge to assure water sources for the production of bio-CNG. So I would like to know from the Honorable Minister through you, sir, is the government considering a policy to incentivize landfills and toilet-linked biogas plants? And in addition to this, does the ministry plan to collaborate with concerned ministries through Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I said, this is something which is before the government, whether we are going to extend it for new sanctions or not. And when the government takes a decision on this, we will also decide on the composition.
Shri Unmesh Patil, Shri Rahul Shivale.
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय, मुझे सप्लीमेंट पूछने का मौका दिया। अध्यक्ष महोदय, वेस्ट टू एनर्जी के जितने भी प्रोजेक्ट ऑल ओवर इंडिया में चल रहे हैं, वो एक तो पीपीपी मॉडल पे है और उसका फेल होने का रीजन है कि इंडियन वेस्ट है उसमें 70% मॉइस्चर रहता है और उसमें रिटर्न्स नहीं होता है। तो रिटर्न्स न होने की वजह से जितने भी म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन के थ्रू प्रोजेक्ट इंप्लीमेंट हो रहे हैं उसमें एनर्जी जनरेट नहीं हो रहे हैं। उसका रीजन है कि एक टेक्नोलॉजी फाइनलाइज होनी चाहिए। कोई बायो मिथेनाइजेशन यूज कर रहा है, मुंबई में बायो रिएक्टर यूज कर रहे हैं, इंसिनरेशन हो रहा है, प्लाज्मा टेक्नोलॉजी यूज हो रहा है। तो टेक्नोलॉजी फाइनलाइज न होने की वजह से और रिटर्न न मिलने की वजह से पीपीपी मॉडल फेल हो रहा है। तो आपके माध्यम से मैं मंत्री जी को पूछना चाहता हूं कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट अगर वेस्ट टू एनर्जी को फंडिंग करेंगे 70% कैपिटल वर्क्स को या ओएनएम को, ऑपरेशन एंड मेंटेनेंस को, आज नमामि गंगे का भी जो भी वहां पे भी एसटीपी के जितने भी प्रोजेक्ट्स है वहां पे ओएनएम न होने की वजह से वहां पे एसटीपी के प्रोजेक्ट फेल, वेस्ट टू एनर्जी के प्रोजेक्ट फेल हुए। तो आपके माध्यम से मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि वेस्ट टू एनर्जी के लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फंडिंग करेगी क्या और टेक्नोलॉजी फाइनलाइज करेगी? थैंक यू।
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I mentioned, this program is now being funded by the Ministry of Urban Development. But while we were funding it, we were technology agnostic.
we did not prescribe the technology which has to be followed. That was left to the developer. And Mr. Speaker, sir, when we were funding it, we did not insist on a PPP mode. The developers could have set up the waste to energy plants by themselves. And so far as the efficiency is concerned, we took care of that. We provided that whatever electricity is generated from the waste to energy plants will be compulsorily purchased by the distribution company, whatever the cost. So even where the cost of power generation came to 9 rupees, 10 rupees per unit, the power was and is being purchased by the distribution company. So that is taken care of.
संजय जायसवाल जी।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, बायोगैसिफायर प्लांट्स जो हैं प्राइवेट के थ्रू 1 लाख हिंदुस्तान में लगे हुए हैं। ये जो इंडिगो है, महिंद्रा जैसी कंपनीज उत्तराखंड में, आंध्र प्रदेश में, कर्नाटका में सरकार 40 वर्षों से प्रयास कर रही है और वो सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो पाई है। और उसका सबसे बड़ा रीजन यह है कि सरकार हर जिले में 100-200 बायोगैस प्लांट दे देती है, छोटा सा भी खराब होता है तो वो नहीं हो पाता है। 2017 से 19 तक 2 साल में लगातार नीति आयोग में गया हूं, नीति आयोग के लोगों से बात किया कि इसको एक कंसंट्रेटेड फॉर्म में चलाया जाए जैसे, और मैंने उन लोगों को लेकर बागेपल्ली में मैं गया था। तो मेरा मंत्री जी से अनुरोध रहेगा, क्योंकि बायोगैस से हम न केवल एलपीजी सिलेंडर्स बचाएंगे बल्कि जो स्लरी निकलती है उससे वर्मी कंपोस्टिंग केवल 7 दिन में होती है, जो कि नॉर्मली 21 दिन लगता है। तो मंत्री जी से मेरा अनुरोध रहेगा कि ये कंपोजिट फॉर्म में एक एक जिले को कंसंट्रेट करके, जहां डेयरी 30% से ज्यादा जहां गाय भैंसे हों, उन जिलों को लेकर के ये करने से न केवल एलपीजी की सेविंग होगी बल्कि आपको ऑर्गेनिक फर्टिलाइजर भी मिलेगा। तो माननीय मंत्री जी इसकी कोई योजना कर रहे हैं? और 2 साल ये नीति आयोग में मैं दौड़ा हूं, 17 से 19 अंक में थक के बैठ गया।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, जैसे कि हमने कहा कि ये स्कीम अभी तत्काल तो स्थिति यह है कि मार्च 21 में ये कंक्लूड हो गया। इसको एक्सटेंड किया जाए या नहीं किया जाए ये सरकार के विचाराधीन है। और जबकि हम लोग एक्सटेंड करेंगे तो जो माननीय सदस्य ने कहा है उसका हम लोग ध्यान रखेंगे।
ये मत बोलो सरकार के विचार, सरकार तो आप हो, विचाराधीन आपके है
जी। विचाराधीन
सरकार कौन है? आप नहीं हो तो?
जी अध्यक्ष महोदय, विचाराधीन है, परंतु हमें वित्त मंत्रालय की भी सहमति लेनी पड़ती है, तो हम लोग सहमति लेने के लिए प्रयत्नरत हैं। जबकि वो हम लोग इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे तो जो माननीय सदस्य ने कहा उसका हम लोग ध्यान रखेंगे। एक चीज मैं बता दूं कि हम लोगों ने अभी सर्वे करवाया था कि बायोगैस प्लांट जो लगाए गए कितने फंक्शनल है, कितने नहीं है। तो हम लोगों ने पाया कि करीब 96% फंक्शनल है। तो जो भी बायोगैस प्लांट्स लगाए गए उनकी अवेलेबिलिटी और फंक्शनल होने का पूरा हम लोगों ने सर्वे करवा लिया।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 125 श्री जी सेल्वन।
Question number 125 by Shri Selvam G, Shri C.N. Annadurai. Will the Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises be pleased to state A. Whether the Khadi and Village Industries Commission KVIC has started any scheme to provide self-employment to the differently abled, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minorities and persons living below poverty line in the rural and backward areas of the country. B. If so, the details thereof along with the funds allocated and released under such scheme during each of the last 5 years and the current year. C. Whether the government has put in place monitoring mechanisms to ensure proper utilization of funds under the scheme, and if so, the details thereof. D. The number of KVIC units set up and the number of persons from differently abled SC, ST, OBC and minorities benefited therefrom during each of the last 3 years and the current year in the state of Tamil Nadu. And E. The other steps being taken, proposed to be taken by the government for generation of more employment avenues in the sector. Shri Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma, Minister of State for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
सभा पटल पर रख दिया गया।
माननीय सदस्य।
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. I would like to know from Honorable Minister of MSME that what steps are being taken to impart training and upskilling of entrepreneurs and employees engaged in startup of MSMEs to get high rate of return. Thank you, sir.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, विशेष रूप से एमएसएमई के अंतर्गत केवीआईसी में पीएमईजीपी योजना के अंतर्गत जो सब्सिडी दी जा रही है वो सब्सिडी के आधार पर सामान्य व्यक्ति को 15 से 25% तक और जो SC/ST हैं उन्हें 25 से 35% तक, उनमें अनुसूचित जाति, अनुसूचित जनजाति, पिछड़ा वर्ग, अल्पसंख्यक वर्ग, महिलाएं, भूतपूर्व सैनिक और दिव्यांगजन, इन सबको जो सब्सिडी दी जाती है इस योजना के अंतर्गत वो 25 से 35% होती है।
Speaker sir, during the pandemic period, KYC is facing serious crisis. So I would like to ask Honorable Minister through you, sir, whether the government intends to declare a special fund for recouping losses incurred by Khadi and village industry units for the period between 2020-21, when the units were under lockdown and experienced a decline in sale and commission. If so, details thereof, sir.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, कोरोना के महामारी के अवसर पर पिछले 2 साल में भारी प्रभाव उद्योग क्षेत्र में पड़ा है और कई उसमें उद्योग बंद भी हुए, कई चालू भी हुए, मगर हमारे देश के पंतप्रधान जी ने प्रधानमंत्री रोजगार सृजन कार्यक्रम के अंदर काफी योजनाएं शुरू की और योजना के मुताबिक अब तक मैं जैसे इसके पहले भी जवाब दे चुका हूं, 2,80,000 करोड़ रुपए कोरोना में सफर हुए उद्योगों के लिए खर्च किए गए। KYC के माध्यम से अलग अलग योजनाएं हमने इम्प्लीमेंट की है। उससे हमें तमिलनाडु में भी काफी उद्योगों को फिर अपने उद्योग शुरू करने में मदद हुई है। उनको लोन दिया गया, सब्सिडी दी गई और इससे मैं समझता हूँ तमिलनाडु में जितने भी उद्योग थे वो सभी उद्योग फिर से शुरू हुए। प्रोडक्शन
ये केरल के हैं, वो तमिलनाडु के हुए हैं, ये केरल के हैं।
हाँ, तो तमिलनाडु का
केरल। क्वेश्चन नंबर 126 श्री YS अविनाश रेड्डी, एडवोकेट अदूर प्रकाश।
Question number 126 by Shri YS Avinash Reddy, Advocate Adur Prakash. Will the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs be pleased to state A. The total number of projects under the Smart Cities mission which have been completed and the total number of projects for which work orders were issued as on 31st of December 2021. B. The quantum of funds released as of December 2021 out of the total commitment made by the Union Government to spend Rs 48,000 crores over a period of 5 years. C. The status of the execution of the work for development of smart cities in the country, particularly in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. D. Whether any review has been conducted on the pace of execution of the said projects, and if so, the details thereof. And E. The steps being taken by the Union Government to expedite the completion of smart city projects in the country. Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs.
Mantri ji.
Sir, a statement is laid on the table of the House.
Honorable member, please.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, Thiruvananthapuram was selected in the 3rd round of Smart City Mission in 2017. So, for a total project cost of 1,317.64 crores. Sir, the answer reveals that only the projects of rupees 278.63 crores have been completed as on date. Majority of the projects are not even completed the work order stage. The deadline of the completion of the project under Smart City Mission is June 2023. The slow progress in implementation of projects in Thiruvananthapuram should be reviewed. Sir, my question, whether the government will conduct a review meeting and take necessary measures for faster implementation of the project in Thiruvananthapuram.
Sir, the Smart City Mission was conceived and implemented in 2015 June. 100 cities were selected through a process of
projects being offered and a system of selection and election in 4 rounds, which started in January 2016. Typically, the period for completion of a smart city project is 5 years. Out of the 100 smart cities, sir, today 75 of them have functioning integrated command and control centers. Cities which were selected in January 2016 are at a more advanced stage of implementation. I can read out to you, sir, the rate at which the overall smart city project is being implemented. Tenders have been issued for 6,721 projects, and the project cost of the tenders issued is 1,88,507 crores, which is 92% of the total tenders to be issued. The work orders issued have been for 6,124 projects, 1,62,988 crores, which is 79%. And the work completed is 29%. But as the project has been tendered and work orders issued, that means they are at advanced stages of implementation. Now, insofar as Thiruvananthapuram is concerned, sir, this is a project whose completion date is June 2023, which means we still have a year and 2 months. All the smart city projects, sir, are being implemented through what is called a special purposes vehicle, which has been specifically set up for that purpose. And the special purpose vehicle is also monitoring the projects. It has an advisory committee attached to it. Sir, I must say, last time when I was answering a question here, a lot of my distinguished colleagues and the people who should be attending the advisory council meetings of the smart city were up on their feet to say it has not been held, it's only a name. I wrote a letter to each one of them, reminding them, I'm so happy to hear that how many meetings were held and how many they had attended. Now I've come armed with all the 100 smart cities. So therefore, if someone turns around and said the advisory committee meeting has not been held, I would be able to tell you here, I won't have to write a letter later. Sir, all the work orders in respect of Thiruvananthapuram are being done by March 2022. So once the work order is issued, it's a question of the project being completed. And typically a smart city project overall has a number of... I can say that the work order stage is at 73%, work completed is 21%, but I have no doubt that this and the others which have to be completed by March 2023, we will review them both here and ensure that they are on the timely completion. I can, sir, I said 75, I answer through you, sir, 75 of the 100 command control centers are operational. Work is in an advanced stage of progress for the remaining 25. And I would urge my colleagues, the honorable members, a little patience. By 15th August this year, 15th August 2022, I make this statement with a sense of responsibility before this August house, all 100 will be operational.
Second, no supplement.
Sir, Smart City is a very innovative project by the Central Government of India. We appreciate this project. We are all taking part in many of the meetings of these projects. Sir, Kochi was the first selected in the first phase among the first 20 cities, which was ranked as number 5. Sir, as you rightly mentioned, I had certain queries regarding the meetings, and you had sent a detailed letter regarding this. And you have mentioned in that I have attended the 10 out of 10 meetings in the City Level Advisory Forum, in which the members of Parliament and members of the legislative assemblies are called for meetings. I totally appreciate the system. But sir, unfortunately, the proposals are mooted in the City Level Advisory Forums, class meetings. In the state, there is a Smart City Director Board, in which the Chief Secretary is heading this, in which a lot of bureaucrats are there, and the concerned mayor is also there. Sir, this is a central government project where 50% of the project cost, around 500 crore, more than 500 crore, are being mooted by the central government. Sir,
मैं आपका इंटरव्यू करता हूँ।
पूरा हो गया सर, पूरा हो
माननीय
गया।
मंत्री एक
सर
मिनट बैठो,
सर
एक
उसमें
मिनट,
सर निवेदन
बैठो एक मिनट, बात मैं कह रहा हूँ, बैठो, मैं व्यवस्था दे रहा हूँ, बैठो आप बैठो आप। माननीय मंत्री महोदय, माननीय सांसदगण को न तो आपकी सलाहकार समिति में बुलाते, न स्मार्ट सिटी के उस बैठक में बुलाते। उनकी जो वेदना है ना, वो सभी सांसदों की वेदना है।
Sir, I'm sorry, I disrespectfully said they are the honorable members are members of the advisory committee, and the honorable member who just spoke has attended all 10 meetings. He is asking to be involved, for the members to be involved in something else. So I respectfully, sir, I must submit to the chair that the scheme has
नहीं माननीय
membership.
मंत्री जी, आप पूछ सकते हैं कि कितने लोगों को सलाहकार समिति बुलाते हैं।
Advisory,
हाथ खड़े करा दें आपका, बुलाते हैं आपको सबको। आप राज्यों को डायरेक्ट,
मैं नंबर आपको बताता हूँ।
आप राज्यों को, माननीय मंत्री जी, आप राज्यों को डायरेक्शन दे दें।
Sir,
100% बुलाएं।
Sir, I am happily carrying
बैठिए,
the dates. I am happily carrying the dates of the meetings of the advisory committee. I am happily carrying the dates of the members who have attended it. Now, if there is a mismatch where an invitation is issued and it will not reach, I am very happy to look at it. But I think the problem is somewhat different. The problem is the demand is for being invited to a meeting which the honorable members are member of the advisory committee. अरे यार, ये यहाँ का कहने का हम बता रहे हैं, हमका नाम बता देंगे, ये जगह कहने की।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 127 श्री संजीव कुमार सिंघवी।
नेक्स्ट चिंता
श्रीमती चिंता अनुराधा।
रिप्लाई मंत्री जी का रिप्लाई
को लिया मैंने, उनके सवाल मैंने पूछ लिए। चलो बैठिए, आप पूछ लिए, आप देरी मत करो उनकी। मैंने सवाल उनका पूछ लिया, उनका मैंने सवाल पूछा। मंत्री जी आप जवाब दे दें।
Sir, as I said, this question was on the progress of the 4 smart cities in Andhra and 2 in Telangana, which have been answered. But the questions which have come on Kochi and Trivandrum, I'm very happy.
Please.
Can I answer? Please. I have with me all the details. Last time when a similar sentiment was expressed, I took from the record, I wrote a detailed letter to every honorable member saying that these are, and those, I'm very happy my friend Mr. Hebe Aiden has acknowledged it. And I also said, I'm very happy you've attended all the 10 meetings. Now, if the issue is to be consulted on something else, I'm very happy to talk to you about it. But the scheme provides...
Please sit down. Yes. Please, member. Question number 127, Chinta Anuradha.
Question number 127 by Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singari, Srimati Chinta Anuradha. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. The current status with regard to the progress made in the construction of new parking bays in Tirupati, Vijayawada and Rajamundry airports in Andhra Pradesh. B. The details of funds sanctioned for the said purpose. And C. Whether the government proposes to use Kurnool Airport for cargo and defence purposes, and if so, the details thereof. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
Manya Mantri ji.
Answers placed on the table of the House, sir.
सुरेश दानोकर।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। मेरे चंद्रपुर लोकसभा क्षेत्र में राजुरा तहसील के मूर्ति ग्राम समीप एयरपोर्ट हेतु कुल 840 एकड़ भूमि से 140 एकड़ भूमि का अधिग्रहण शेष है। इस शेष भूमि का अधिग्रहण कब तक होगा? धन्यवाद।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, ये प्रश्न पार्किंग बेस के बारे में है आंध्र प्रदेश के हवाई अड्डों का। जहां तक माननीय सांसद महोदय ने चंद्रपुर की भूमि अधिग्रहण के विषय के बारे में प्रश्न पूछा है, हम सब इस बात से भली भांति परिचित हैं कि भूमि अधिग्रहण की जिम्मेदारी प्रदेश सरकार की होती है। जब वो भूमि अधिग्रहण हो जाएगी उसके बाद उस पर कार्य हम लोग शुरू करेंगे।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 128 श्रीमती शमिष्ठा सेठी।
Question number 128 by Srimati Sarmishtha Sethi. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. Whether the government is aware of arbitrary cancellation charges levied by private airlines at the time of crisis like pandemic, lockdown, cyclone, etc., and if so, the details thereof. B. Whether any guidelines or instructions have been issued to the private airlines against such arbitrary cancellation charges, and if so, the details thereof. And C. Whether any complaints have been received for levying of such charges against private airlines during the last 3 years, and if so, the details thereof, category and year-wise along with the action taken thereon. Shri Jyotir Aditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
माननीय मंत्री जी।
Answers placed on the table are sir.
इम्तियाज जलील जी।
Sir, when there is a very young and dynamic civil aviation, obviously the expectations are more. Sir, there were 21 embarkation points for the Hajj Yatris every year, and it was decided that for the to facilitate the Hajis, so that they can embark from different stations. Now they have reduced the 21 embarkation points to 10 embarkation points. My humble request is, Hajis usually are old people, so it's very inconvenient. Just for example, you had embarkation points in Maharashtra at Nagpur, at Pune and at Aurangabad, but you have stopped that for reasons best known. My humble request is, we are again resuming the Hajj Yatra this year, so if we could retain that 21, and also since I come from Aurangabad, my humble request is if you can add Aurangabad in Udan scheme and also in the Buddhist circuit, because we have the World Heritage Sites of Ajanta and Ellora. Why Aurangabad has been excluded from that embarkation, I don't know. So please, my humble request is if Aurangabad could be included in the Buddhist circuit as well as in Aurangabad, as also to retain those 21 embarkation points for Hajis. Thank you.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, प्रश्न हमारा था टिकट के कैंसिलेशन के ऊपर। नहीं, आर्बिट्री कैंसिलेशन ऑफ टिकट है, ये उड़ान का प्रश्न नहीं है।
हाँ, वही है जो आप सही बोल रहे हैं।
और इस विषय पर पूर्ण रूप से हमारी योजना सरकार की बनी हुई है। माननीय सांसद महोदय ने प्रश्न पूछा है हज यात्रा के बारे में, जो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, पर मैं उनको अवगत कराना चाहता हूं कि नागर विमानन मंत्रालय उस विषय पर निर्णय नहीं लेता। वो निर्णय लिया जाता है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स के द्वारा। हम लोग केवल एक क्रियान्वयन एजेंसी हैं, जो निर्णय लिया जाता है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स के आधार पर, उसका क्रियान्वयन केवल हम कर पाते हैं। तो जरूर मैं अपने साथी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स को आपके भावनाओं से जरूर अवगत कराऊंगा, ये मैं विश्वास लाता हूं।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 129 श्रीमती लाकेट चटर्जी।
Question number 129 by Ms. Lockett Chatterjee. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. The number of airstrips and airports which are operational under Udan scheme, B. The details of funds spent under the scheme till date, and C. The details of airstrips which have been added under the scheme in the current year. Shri Jyotir Aditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
माननीय मंत्री जी, 129।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, आंसर्स प्लेस्ड ऑन द टेबल ऑफ द हाउस।
श्री तापिर गांव।
ऑनरेबल स्पीकर सर, मैं सिविल एविएशन मिनिस्ट्री को और मिनिस्टर को बहुत एप्रिशिएट करता हूं। इन्होंने अरुणाचल प्रदेश में नया एयर स्ट्रिप बनाने के लिए दिरांग, दापोरिजो, आनिनी में मिनिस्ट्रियल एक्सपर्ट को भेजा है। तो प्यूसार में उड़ान सर्विस से जुड़ने के लिए ये 3 जगह में एयर स्ट्रिप मंत्री जी कब तक बनवाएंगे? थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद सांसद महोदय। ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हमारी योजना है देश के एक एक कोने को जोड़ने के लिए अध्यक्ष महोदय, और इसका नाम उड़ान रखा गया है कि उड़े देश का आम नागरिक। ये प्रधानमंत्री जी की कल्पना है और उनका संकल्प भी है। खास करके ये योजना में प्राथमिकता उत्तर पूर्वी राज्यों को दिया गया है। खास करके इस योजना में प्राथमिकता हमारी पहाड़ी राज्यों को और हमारे टापू और द्वीपों को दिया गया है, और उस प्राथमिकता के आधार पर जो 20% वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग राज्यों को देनी पड़ती है, उसमें इन राज्यों को केवल 10% तक सीमित रखा गया है और 90% बीजीएफ केंद्र सरकार दे रही है इन राज्यों के लिए। इस योजना में अरुणाचल के लिए भी हमने बहुत प्राथमिकता दी है। 3 एडवांस लैंडिंग ग्राउंड्स की भी हम लोग तैयारी कर रहे हैं। डीपीआर उनकी हो चुकी है और रिपोर्ट भी हमने राज्य को भेज दिया है। हम राज्य से इंतजार कर रहे हैं, जब जवाब आएगा तब तीव्र गति से हम लोग क्रियान्वयन जरूर करेंगे।
Question number 130, Sri T.R. Baluji.
Question number 130 by Sri T.R. Balu. Will the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs be pleased to state A. Whether the government proposes to make optimal use of technology for integrated urban planning to address rapid pace of urbanization, and B. If so, the details thereof and the steps proposed to be taken by the government in this regard. Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
Sir, a statement is laid on the table of the House.
श्री N.K. Premchandan ji.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Sir, integrated urban planning is highly essential for preparing a master plan of the cities. I would like to know from the Honorable Minister, because 456 towns have already been selected from 35 states and union territories. I would like, a part of my question is, whether all these 456 towns, including my town, Kollam municipal town, whether all these towns have been declared or they have submitted the comprehensive master plan so as to have the integrated development of the city. Because a comprehensive master plan is highly essential. Mere planning is not required to have a comprehensive master plan. Whether that comprehensive master plan has been submitted by all these municipal towns to the government of India. And B part of my question is, non-expenditure of the allocated amount, whether it will adversely affect in the future allocation of the fund. That is B part of my question. Thank you very much, sir.
So I would like to thank the honourable member for raising a question which actually lies at the very heart of the direction in which we are moving in urbanization. So I would like to recall that in 1947, when we gained our independence, and our first census, if I remember, is of 1951, our urban population then, sir, was about 17%. The last census that we have, which is of 2011, there the urban population is very much on the rise, and we are now working against a possibility of 600 million people living in urban areas by the year 2030, when the Sustainable Development Goals. And it is entirely possible that by the year 2051, half of our population, or as much as 80 crores or 800 million, will be living. Most of our urbanization, sir, has hitherto taken place in an autonomous and somewhat unstructured manner, because every citizen of India has a right to go for education, go for looking for work to any part of the country. So as a result of what has happened is there has been a very marked and significant demographic shift to urban centers. And the urban centers today already provide, I think, something like 60% of our GDP. And when the urban population increases, about 75 to 80%. Now, within the overall process, the figure that the honourable member is citing, sir, is a provision made under the Amrut scheme, where an amount, if I remember correctly, of about 515 crores has been set aside for this purpose. Now, the figures which have been cited by the honourable members, according to this, the ministry has already approved, out of that 515 crore provision, we have already approved 412 crores and 412.52 crores, and the amount released is about 151.27 crores. Sir, Amrut is a programmatic intervention of the central government. Land is a state subject, and the states have to do it. But since the honourable members asked, I can confirm to him that Kollam's draft master plan has been done. And also, sir, the support will be continued. Now, Amrut, the program under which this provision has been made, sir, this was a scheme introduced in June 2015. It covers 500 Indian cities which have a population above 1 lakh. But it covers only about 60% of our urban area. And Amrut will be
subsumed under AMRUT 2. So the point I'm making is, out of the 456 cities which have been uploaded, 2 of them, I remember correct, Nagar Haveli and Lakshadweep said, we already have a master plan. So there are 3 stages. One stage is the creation of a GIS database using very high resolution satellite images for the big cities. The second is, if the city is not very big, you could use the same drone technology to get it done. And then you produce a master plan. Now, I don't know, maybe my colleagues amongst the officials very well prepared. I can confirm for Kollam, I can confirm for some others. But I want to assure the honourable member, where a draft master plan has not been prepared or they need some hand-holding or capacity building assistance, we are ready to provide that.
क्या इंटेलिजेंट मंत्री और इंटेलिजेंट प्रश्न, इंटेलिजेंट मंत्री और इंटेलिजेंट मेंबर्स, अगर दोनों जवाब प्रश्न करने लग जाएं 1 घंटा लग जाएगा. हाँ, क्वेश्चन नंबर 131, संजय सदाशिव मांडलिक.
Question number 131 by Shri Sanjay Sadashiv Rao Mandlik, Shri Subrat Pathak. Will the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs be pleased to state A. Whether the government has recently organized an online event where it announced 11 winning cities for the Streets for People Challenge and 10 winning cities for the pilot stage of the Nurturing Neighborhoods Challenge. B. If so, the details thereof and the criteria fixed by the government for choosing such cities. C. Whether the government proposes to provide any financial assistance to cities which performed better in Streets for People Challenge, and if so, the details thereof. D. Whether the government proposes to actively engage local population of the cities selected for the Streets for People Challenge by spreading awareness and encouraging them to transform their traffic-centric streets into people-centric streets, and if so, the details thereof. And E. Whether the government proposes to include more cities in addition to present 100 cities under Streets for People Challenge, and if so, the details thereof. Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs.
माननीय मंत्री महोदय,
A statement is laid on the table of the House.
क्वेश्चन नंबर 132, डॉक्टर आलोक कुमार सुमन.
Question number 132 by Dr. Alok Kumar Suman. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. Whether the Regional Connectivity Scheme RCS Udan has entered the 5th consecutive year and 168 routes were awarded under Udan 4.1. B. If so, the details thereof. C. Whether 100 routes were commenced as part of the vision to improve connectivity across the country and 12 airports were operationalized, which included 3 heliports. D. If so, the details thereof. E. Whether the Sabia airfield at Hathua in Gopalganj district of Bihar is part of RCS Udan for operational activity and the airline operators for Sabia airfield have been invited. And E. If so, the details thereof, and if not, the reasons therefore. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय. सबिया हवाई पट्टी एक उड़ान योजना के तहत असेवित हवाई पट्टी के रूप में शामिल है और जवाब मिला है कि ये कोई भी एयरलाइन बोली नहीं लगा रही है. महोदय, मेरा ये कहना है कि ये 517 एकड़ में फैला हुआ है, जिसमें से 338.66 एकड़ जमीन अतिक्रमित है. जब तक अतिक्रमण हटेगा नहीं, महोदय, कोई बोली कैसे लगाएगा? अतिक्रमण हटाने के लिए और उसको चालू करने के लिए सरकार अगला काम क्या कर रही है? महोदय, धन्यवाद.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, उड़ान योजना के अंतर्गत सबिया एयरस्ट्रिप गोपालगंज जिले में हमने चारों राउंड में, उड़ान के राउंड में हमने प्रेषित किए थे. जैसे आपको मालूम है कि नागर विमानन क्षेत्र आज एक अनरेगुलेटेड सेक्टर है, डीरेगुलेटेड सेक्टर है, और उसके तहत निजी क्षेत्र की जो भी बिडिंग आती हैं उसी के आधार पर हम लोग शुरुआत फ्लाइट्स की करते हैं. हमारी कोशिश होगी भविष्य में भी असेवित हवाई अड्डों को सेवित हवाई अड्डे में परिवर्तित करने के लिए. लेकिन जैसे माननीय सांसद महोदय ने बताया कि ये राज्य सरकार का हवाई अड्डा है और अतिक्रमण हटाना भी राज्य सरकार की जिम्मेदारी है. मैं उनसे भी निवेदन करूंगा कि वे भी राज्य सरकार से जल्द चर्चा करें ताकि वो अतिक्रमण हट पाए और उसके आधार पर हम आगे का कार्रवाई कर पाए.
ऑनरेबल मेंबर,
ये हवाई अड्डा
महोदय रक्षा मंत्रालय का है ना कि राज्य सरकार का?
आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है?
सर, ये रक्षा मंत्रालय की हवाई पट्टी है तो राज्य सरकार इसको कैसे हटाएगी?
माननीय मंत्री जी, रक्षा मंत्रालय को पत्र लिख देना आप। जी जी, ठीक है ना। क्वेश्चन नंबर 132 अधीर रंजन चौधरी जी।
महाराज
आपको मैंने इजाजत दी थी।
अच्छा, बात यह कि हमारे एक महाराज तो मंत्री है, दूसरे महाराज एयर इंडिया वो अभी प्राइवेटाइजेशन हो रहे हैं। तो आज ये देखा जा रहा है कि हिंदुस्तान में एक डिओपोली की स्थिति पैदा हो गई है। डिओपोली जैसे कि 42% शेयर आ गया टाटा के साथ, मतलब टाटा, बिस्तरा, एयर एशिया लेकर, और बाकी 37% आ गया इंडिगो के साथ। तो ये डिओपोली का रेजिम बन गए हैं। तो आप कह रहे हैं कि उड़ान की चलते ये अनरेगुलेटेड हो गए हैं। तो ये उड़ान की चलते हमारा बंगाल में बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट है, जैसे कि औंडल एक विमान एक एयरपोर्ट बन के रह गई है औंडल, उसके साथ कुछ बिहार, बालूरघाट, मालदा। तो इसका नतीजा क्या होगा? क्योंकि अभी डिओपोली चल रहे हैं। तो ये आप इन लोगों को इंसेंटिवाइज करके इस जगह में उड़ान की जो मकसद है, ये मकसद पूरा करने के लिए नया कोई योजना आप सोचते हैं, ये बनाते हैं?
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपके द्वारा माननीय सांसद महोदय और कांग्रेस पार्टी के नेता को धन्यवाद अर्पित करना चाहता हूं, पर उनको ये सूचित करना चाहता हूं कि मेरा नाम ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया है। शायद वो कुछ गलतफहमी में हो और मेरे अतीत के बारे में बार बार चर्चा करते रहते हैं, पर मैं उनको सूचित करना चाहूंगा। जहां तक इन्होंने बात की नागर विमानन क्षेत्र की, जैसे आपके द्वारा मैंने सूचित किया है, ये एक डीरेगुलेटेड सेक्टर है और एक कंपेटिटिव सेक्टर है, और एक ऐसा सेक्टर है जिसमें कोरोना के वातावरण में सबसे ज्यादा कठिनाई का सामना इस सेक्टर ने किया है। लेकिन इस मुद्दे को नजर रखते हुए भी उड़ान योजना के तहत पिछले 4 राउंड्स में 948 नए रूट्स जिन शहरों को आज तक देश में कभी जोड़ा नहीं गया था और कल्पना भी नहीं की थी, प्रधानमंत्री जी की कल्पना की उड़े देश का आम नागरिक और हवाई चप्पल वाला हवाई जहाज में जाए, उसके तहत 48 नए रूट्स अवार्ड किए गए हैं, जिसके आधार पर ऐसे ऐसे छोटे शहर जुड़े गए हैं जिसकी कल्पना कभी की नहीं गई थी। झरसुगुड़ा से करीब 3 लाख यात्री प्रतिवर्ष जाते हैं अध्यक्ष महोदय, दरभंगा से करीब 3.5 लाख यात्री जाते हैं। जिन एयरपोर्ट्स को द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद नागर विमानन क्षेत्र के मानचित्र से उड़ाया गया था, ऐसे क्षेत्रों को जोड़ा गया है। मैं विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कांग्रेस के नेता को कि उड़ान योजना के तहत जो हमारी कल्पना है कि 100 एयरपोर्ट्स 2025 तक और 1000 नए रूट्स 2025 तक हम लोग प्रचलित करेंगे, उस पर हम लोग पूर्ण रूप से उनको विश्वास दिलाते हैं। मैं उसका उत्तर देना चाहता हूं अध्यक्ष महोदय कि बंगाल का मुद्दा उन्होंने उठाया है।
फिर एक बार रुक जाएं, आप भी बंगाल के, इनको ही पूछ लें तो एक साथ जवाब देना। दोनों पूछेंगे विपरीत आपस में।
सर, Honorable Minister visited Calcutta just 1 week back, I think. And he declared that due to shortage of non-availability of land, second airport is becoming not possible. Because the old one has become to be changed and the new one airport is to be installed. Our Chief Minister proposed to take the land at Ondal Airport, which few minutes back Adhir Ranjan also mentioned. So I just want to know from Honorable Minister that why you are not taking Ondal as the second alternative which state government proposed to you, and what is the difficulties to implement the project of your dream of second airport in West Bengal, and why it is not being implemented?
Manya Mantri ji.
So I'd like to thank Da through you for asking this very important question. But prior to answering his question, I'd like to take up the issue which the leader of the Congress party raised. Durgapur Airport, which is Andal, the connectivity is already provided under Udan routes. There are connectivity to Chennai and to Mumbai. There are close to about 20 flights per week, and that airport is today connected. As far as the question that Da raised, it is very true that our government is extremely committed to increasing both the number of airports in our country, and just as a data point, I'd like to put before you, sir, that India had 74 airports prior to 2014. Today, we have 140 airports in India. 66 airports have been added in the last 7 years alone, almost doubling our capacity over the last 7 years. ये वृद्धि, ये प्रगति हम लोग नागर विमानन क्षेत्र में ला पाए हैं. Paschim Bengal, we are extremely desirous to bring about development in the civil aviation sector, Sudeepda. And please understand that today, civil aviation has become the backbone of transportation across the world. If you do not have connectivity, if you do not have infrastructure, not only is this sector affected, but your economic progress, your economic future, tourism, all of those sectors get affected by civil aviation. Which is why, through that press conference, I urged both respected Mamta Di and your government that please come forward, work together with us to make sure that we raise development and progress in West Bengal. There are a number of airports where I have, over the last 7 months, written at least 5 times to the Chief Minister saying, please come forward, please give us the land, because unless you give us the land, we cannot progress it. And I'd like to put this on the record of the House. As far as Bagdogra is concerned, we are still waiting for the handover of almost 98 acres out of the 104 acres from the state government side. As far as Behala is concerned, almost 40 acres is still pending to be handed over for the extension of the runway. If you don't extend your runway, we cannot land Code E aircraft, Code D aircraft into West Bengal. As far as Hasimara airport is concerned, we're waiting for almost 38 acres to be handed over. Same is the story with Kalaikunda airport. 38 acres, today only 80 are land. We want to land Airbuses there. Sir, this is very important that I put this on the record of the House. Malda Airport, the same situation, where we want to ensure we increase connectivity. The final part of Das question was, why are we not taking Durgapur Airport and Andal Airport as the second airport for Kolkata? We have great plans for Kolkata. Please understand, in terms of connectivity, we cannot expect passengers to travel 180 kilometers away from Kolkata for the second airport in Kolkata. The second airport has to be close to Kolkata. It cannot be 180 kilometers away.
No.
Let me answer one honorable member at a time.
No,
so therefore, this positioning of Durgapur or Andal as the alternative airport for Kolkata as the second airport, please understand, is not possible because no passenger, neither will you travel 180 kilometers away to catch a flight for the second airport of Kolkata.
मैं पुनः माननीय मंत्री महोदयों से निवेदन करना चाहता हूं, आप अनुभवी हैं सब, लेकिन आज संक्षिप्त में जवाब दे, ब्रीफ में उत्तर दें. हाँ.
We are opposed to forceful occupancy of the land. We will not do it. In between, you'll have to implement your.
I am with you, sir, on that, and let us work together.
Even we did not allow Tata to implement.
No. But you are missing the point. The point is not to take forceful occupation. Any land that is empty, you have to choose. I can't choose that. You must choose that and offer it to the government, and we will build the airport. But please work together. We are not working at odds. West Bengal has to be worked at together to make sure that we bring about development at West Bengal.
No.
Next.
No.
Line up.
No. Question number 133.
Question number 133 by Shri M.K. Raghavan. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. Whether the committee assigned to investigate and implement the recommendations of Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau AAIB on IX-1344 accident at Calicut International Airport has submitted its report, and if so, the details thereof. B. If not, the time by which the committee is expected to submit its report. And C. Whether the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGCA, proposes to curtail length of the runway at Calicut International Airport, and if so, the reasons therefor. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, उत्तर सभा पटल पर रखा गया।
ऑनरेबल मेंबर,
Thank you, respected Speaker, sir.
short में, brief में.
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe that the Honorable Minister has been misled by the Airport Authority of India and Director General of Civil Aviation regarding to curtailing the runway of length of Calicut Airport. Sir, recently Honorable Minister has convened a meeting in his office. Honorable Minister Muralidharanji and other 6 MPs are participating in that meeting. Officers are also participating in that meeting. Officers assured that meeting, we will not take that action to curtail that length.
Okay.
Sir, one. Please, sir.
अध्यक्ष महोदय,
No.
I can understand.
No supplementary. No supplementary, माननीय मंत्री जी.
Sir, I would like to respond to the Honorable Member of Parliament and his concern. Muralidharanji, along with a delegation of 5 or 6 members of Parliament, came and met me, where Raghavan Sahab was also there. This is a very unfortunate accident that occurred in Calicut. It is an accident that we take with the utmost graveness and seriousness. Our primary job in the Ministry of Civil Aviation is to ensure not only connectivity, but connectivity with safety and with security. That is our primary job, and we will not take any step that compromises in any manner whatsoever either the safety or the security of any passenger in our skies. Having said that, as far as the Calicut incident is concerned, committee had been set up. The AIB, the Accident Investigation Bureau, had come out with its report. I had very clearly stated that a committee must evaluate the report, understand the recommendations of the report, and come back to us with a plan for the execution of those recommendations. That committee has been headed by none other than the Secretary of my department. That committee has Air Chief Marshal Fali Major as the Vice Chairperson of that department, of that committee. That committee's report will be sent to us. Based on the recommendations of that committee's report, we will then take action going forward.
Sir, your answer is not correct, sir. Because my question is, sir, you please listen. My question is whether the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGC, has proposals to curtail length of runway at Calicut International Airport, and if so, sir, your answer is, your answer is presently there is no such a proposal under consideration in the DGC. Sir,
Honorable member, please.
Sir, I have...
Let me apprise the member that when I have already mentioned to them that when the report of the committee is submitted to us, based on that we will take action in public interest.
Question number 134, Ramya Haridas.
Question number 134 by Ms. Ramya Haridas. Will the Minister of Road Transport and Highways be pleased to state A. Whether it is a fact that certain national highways are more prone to road accidents. B. If so, the number of road accidents reported on national highways during each of the last 3 years, national highway-wise. C. Whether any study has been conducted to ascertain the reasons as to why certain national highways are more prone to road accidents, and if so, the details thereof. And D. The steps taken to reduce the road accidents on those national highways. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia.
Manya Mantri ji
of the House.
Question number 135, Santosh Kumar.
Question number 135 by Shri Santosh Kumar. Will the Minister of Road Transport and Highways be pleased to state A. Whether there is any proposal to construct NH34 from Khagadia to Purnia in Bihar, and if so, the details and the present status thereof. B. The time by which the said project is likely to be completed. C. The places through which the said national highway would pass. D. Whether there is any proposal to convert the State Highway 57 from Kursela to Simarihi via Mirganj Sarsi into National Highway, so that the distance to reach the capital of Bihar is reduced, and if so, the timeline fixed for the purpose, and if not, the reasons therefor. And E. The proposal of road construction in the state of Bihar which are under consideration of the Union Government, and the time by which the same are likely to be approved. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia.
Manya Mantri ji.
Laid on the table of the House.
Question number 136, Dayanidhi Maran.
Question number 136 by Shri Dayanidhi Maran. Will the Minister of Civil Aviation be pleased to state A. The details of steps being taken for upgradation and maintenance of various airports in Tamil Nadu. B. The details of schemes being implemented in Tamil Nadu along with the details of projects, the current status, the year of launch, funds allocated and expected date of completion of these projects. C. Whether the government has taken any steps for modernization of infrastructure of airports in the wake of COVID-19, such as e-passports, contactless payment solutions, thermal screenings, etc. And D. If so, the names of the airports where these steps have been implemented, including the cost of such projects, airport-wise. Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia, Minister of Civil Aviation.
माननीय मंत्री जी 136
उत्तर सभा पटल पे रखा गया।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 137 श्री जयदेव गल्ला।
Question number 137 by Shri Jayadev Galla. Will the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs be pleased to state A. The details of funds sanctioned and released under the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Amrut. B. Whether the target for universal coverage of tap water connection and sewerage connection has been achieved, and if so, the details thereof state-wise and for the state of Andhra Pradesh district-wise. C. The details of the number of pedestrian sidewalks, cycling spaces, parking spaces and parks constructed under the mission state-wise and for the state of Andhra Pradesh district-wise. And D. The number of cities declared to have achieved 100% water supply coverage in the country state-wise. Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs.
माननीय मंत्री जी, on the table of the House. Question number 138, no, Ramesh Viduri ji.
Question number 138 by Shri Ramesh Bidhuri. Will the Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises be pleased to state A. Whether the government has taken steps for strengthening MSME sector which was affected during COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant lockdown, and B. If so, the details thereof. Shri Nitish Rane, Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
MSE मंत्री,
माननीय मंत्री जी,
MSME,
माननीय मंत्री जी, क्या हो गया आप लोगों को? प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
अध्यक्ष जी, मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से आपके माध्यम से सरकार से जानना चाहता हूं, MSME के अंदर माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने प्रोविजन जो बजट रखा है, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने बहुत प्रोविजन रखा है, लेकिन कोरोना काल के अंदर MSME जो काम करने वाले उद्योग में काम करने वाले लोग थे, मजदूर थे, उनके काम बहुत बंद रहे थे। क्या सरकार ने कोरोना के दौरान ओखला औद्योगिक क्षेत्र स्पेसिफिक साउथ दिल्ली पार्लियामेंट में पड़ता है, क्या उसमें कोई एक्स्ट्रा उनको सपोर्ट देने का कोई ऐसी योजना कोरोना में सरकार ने बनाई थी? भविष्य के लिए तो बहुत बजट रखा है और नहीं बनाई थी, तो आगे कोई ऐसा होगा तो उसके लिए क्या प्रोविजन है, ये जानना चाहूंगा मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से।
आप पूरा मत बता देना, आप तो कहते हो ओखला के लिए वो तो विशेष बता दो, नहीं तो पूरा तो उनको पता है।
नहीं, माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, जो लोग कोरोना के कार्यकाल में गरीब लोग अपने जॉब से उनको जॉब से निकाला गया या फैक्ट्री बंद हुई, ऐसे लोगों के लिए मदद करने के लिए माननीय पंतप्रधान जी ने वो 5 लाख करोड़ रुपया उसी स्कीम के लिए दिया है कि उनके लिए मदद की जाए और उनको रोजगार प्राप्त हो जाए, इस कोशिश के लिए दिया गया।
139 श्रीमती भावना गावित।
Question number 139 by Srimati Bhavna Pundalik Rao Gawali, Shri Sanjay Jadhav. Will the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas be pleased to state A. The details of the petroleum products imported and the total funds spent by the government on imports of the said products during each of the last 3 years and the current year as on date. B. Whether the country depends on foreign countries for the import of crude oil. C. If so, the current percentage of the imported oil out of the total demand of the crude oil in the country. D. Whether there has been a shortage in the international and domestic supply of petroleum and natural gas after COVID-19 pandemic. E. If so, the extent to which improvement has been made in this regard. And F. The details of the progress made since 2014 till date to minimize the dependency of the country on oil imports by 10% by 2022 as compared to the year 2015-16 year-wise.
माननीय मंत्री जी, पुरी साहब, of the House.
अध्यक्ष जी, मुझे उत्तर में यहाँ पर बी में बताया गया है, दिखाया है कि
आयात निर्भरता हमारी जो है वो 85.1% है और एफ के उत्तर में इन्होंने दिया हुआ है कि 21-22 तक ऊर्जा आयात निर्यात को 10% तक कम करने के लिए एक रोड मैप तैयार करने के उद्देश्य से एक समिति का गठन किया गया है और उसमें व्यापक तौर पर तेल और गैस का घरेलू उत्पादन बढ़ाना, ऊर्जा क्षमता और संरक्षण उपायों को बढ़ाना, मांग प्रतिस्थापना का पर जोर देना जैसे 5 आयामी कार्यक्रमों की परिकल्पना की गई है।
प्रश्न क्या
मैं सप्लीमेंट्री और प्रश्न एक ही पूछ रही हूँ क्योंकि ये 20 प्रश्न पूछने का आपने मौका दिया, इसमें मेरा नंबर लगा है ये। तो मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ। मेरा सीधा प्रश्न ये है कि ये आपने 5 कार्यान्वयन नीति के माध्यम से तेल और गैस की जो आपूर्ति के लिए बोला है, तो इसमें कितनी आपूर्ति हुई है और कितना घरेलू उत्पादन बढ़ा है, इसकी हम यहाँ पर आपने तो दिया है कि हमारी आयात निर्भरता है 85%। तो इसमें हमारा आंकड़ा कुछ भी आपने दिया नहीं, उसका बताने की कोशिश करें।
सर, I think the honorable member is right. A committee was indeed established and the committee recommended, it's a recommendation of a committee, that by the time we reach the present period, our import dependence should decline by 10%. That was a recommendation. But what happened on the ground is entirely different. Today, sir, we are in a situation where our consumption of energy, both petroleum, diesel, gas, is way beyond pre-COVID levels. Our consumption in India is 1/3 of the global average. But if the economy is growing at 9.2%, the consumption is going. So we have taken other steps, including ethanol blending up to 20%, various other steps to increase the area under exploration and production. But so there is no inconsistency. A committee has, if you ask me, my recommendation should be we should bring import dependence down from 85 to 55. But it's one thing to do that and the other thing to have the systems in place to be able to.
140, 20 हो गए। राहुल शिवाले।
Question number 140, Shri Chandrasekhar Sahu, Shri Rahul Ramesh Shivale. Will the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs be pleased to state A. The status of projects under Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation Amrut 1.0 in the states of Odisha and Maharashtra. B. The details of funds sanctioned, allocated and released under Amrut 1.0 so far to the said states. C. Whether there are projects which have been delayed and the cost of such projects has escalated. D. If so, the details thereof. E. Whether these state governments have requested for allocation of additional funds for these projects under the mission. And F. If so, the details thereof and the action taken so far by the Union Government on such requests. Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs.
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय, मुझे सप्लीमेंट्री क्वेश्चन पूछने का मौका दिया। अध्यक्ष महोदय, अमृत के माध्यम से स्कीम के माध्यम से महाराष्ट्र को 7,759 करोड़ की पूरी राशि मिली है, लेकिन मुंबई के जितने भी प्रोजेक्ट है, सीवरेज से लेके सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट हो या वाटर सप्लाई के, उनकी कॉस्टिंग 5,000 के ऊपर 10,000 करोड़ तक उसकी कॉस्टिंग होती है। तो हर बार मुंबई को एक फंड मिलना चाहिए, फंड नहीं मिलता है। तो मेरा मंत्री जी से अनुरोध है कि मुंबई को एक स्पेशल कैटेगरी में लिया जाए और मुंबई को स्पेशल फंड अमृत के माध्यम से प्रोवाइड किया जाए, क्योंकि मुंबई फाइनेंशियल कैपिटल है और हर बार मुंबई को अन्याय हो रहा है। तो मुंबई को अमृत का स्पेशल फंड मिले।
Sir, a statement is already been laid on the table of the House. I would like to inform the honourable member that Amrut is a scheme, total outlay of 77,000 crores, where in the first 3 years itself, whatever is available in the state annual action plan is given. There is no provision in the scheme to provide special packages. But if the honourable member has any other issues, there is an Amrut 2 scheme which is coming into being, which will subsume Amrut 1. I'm very happy to exchange ideas with him as to how we can look at these. But the Amrut 1 scheme does not have any provision for any additional packages beyond that original 77,000 crores.
प्रश्नकाल समाप्त, सारे 20 प्रश्न ले लिए।
अभी आप आज लोकसभा में प्रश्नकाल के दौरान हुए कार्रवाई की रिकॉर्डिंग सुन रहे थे। You were listening to the recording of today's proceedings during the question hour in Lok Sabha. This broadcast came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.